Vidura, we give some lecture now. We want to hear. Crackle. Crackle. You put some hot water in the fire. Crackles, you know. Some fat. You put fat in the fire. Okay, oil again. Crackle. Then crackle. Crackling lecture.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, please repeat after me. Pitamaha me samare maranjayir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingahi. Duratyayam kauravasanya sagaram. Vidvataram vatsapadam smayat pravaha. Pitamaha me samare maranjayahir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingalai. Duratyayam kauravasanya sagaram. Kridvataram vatsapadam smayat pravaha. Pitamaha me samare maranjayir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingilahi. Duratyayam kauravasanya sagaram. Kridvataram vatsapadam smayat pravaha.
Pitamaha misma samare maranjayir.
Pitamaha me samare maranjayir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingirai. Duratyayam kauravasanya sagaram. Kridvataram vatsapadam smayat pravaha. Pitamaha me samare maranjayir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingirai. Duratyayam kauravasanya sagaram. Kridvataram vatsapadam smayat pravaha. Any ladies would like to recite? Yeah. Pitamaha me samare maranjayir. Deva vratadya tirataistimingirai. Duratyayam Kaurava Sainya Sagaram Kridvataran Vatsapadam Smayat Pravaha. Okay, so I'm gonna read the other verses just because it's actually 3 of them. There's only the first one on the board. Dronyastra viprushtam idam madangam santana bijam kuru pandavanam chugopa kukshim gata atta chakro matushchameya sharanam gataya viryani tasya khila deha bhajam antar bahi purushakala rupai prayachato mrityum utamritam cha maya manushyasya vadasva vidvan. Okay. So translation: Pitamaha, my grandfathers, the 5 Pandavas, me, my, Samare, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Amaram Jayahi, with fighters who could gain victory over the demigods on the battlefield. Devavrata Adya, Bhishmadev and others. Atiratai, great commanders in chief. Timingilahi, resembling great Timingila fish, which can easily eat large sharks. Duratyayam, very difficult to cross. Kauravasanya, Sagaram, the ocean of the assembled soldiers of the Kauravas. Kritva, considering such an ocean. Ataran, crossed it. Vatsapadam, exactly as one steps over a small hoof print of a calf. Sma, in the past. Yat Plavaha, the shelter of the boat of Krishna's lotus feet. Okay, so that's the translation for the first verse. It's quite long, so I think I can stop there. It's okay? Yeah? Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. Because my mother surrendered unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord, Sudarshan Chakra in hand, entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kulus and the Pandava, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashvatham. Lord Sri Krishna, appearing within and outside of all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the form of eternal time, that is, as Paramatma and as Virat Rupa, gave liberation to everyone, either as cruel death or as life. Kindly enlighten me by describing his transcendental characteristics. Purport. I stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58, Samashritaye padapallava pravam mahat padam punya yasho murarehe bhavham budir vatsa padam param padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, or the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. His goal is Parampadam, or Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. One who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is immediately protected by the Lord. As the Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. By taking shelter of Lord Krishna, one comes under the safest protection. Thus, when the Pandava took shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, all of them were on the safe side of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Parikshit Maharaj therefore felt obliged to think of Krishna in the last days of his life. This is the ideal result of Krishna consciousness. Ante Narayana Smritihi. If at the time of death one can remember Krishna, one's life is successful. Parikshit Maharaj, therefore, because of his many obligations to Krishna, intelligently decided to think of Krishna constantly during the last days of his life. Krishna had saved the Pandava, Maharaj Parikshit's grandfathers, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna had saved Maharaj Parikshit himself when he was attacked by the Brahmastra of Ashwatam. Krishna acted as the friend and worshipable deity of the Pandava family. Moreover, apart from Lord Krishna's personal contact with the Pandavas, Krishna is the supersoul of all living entities, and he gives everyone liberation, even if one is not a pure devotee. Kamsa, for example, was not at all a devotee, yet Krishna, after killing him, gave him salvation. Krishna consciousness is beneficial to everyone, whether one is a pure devotee or a non-devotee. This is the glory of Krishna consciousness. Considering this, who will not take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna? Krishna is described in this verse as Maya Manushya because he descends exactly like a human being. He is not obliged to come here like karmis or ordinary living beings. Rather, he appears by his own internal energy, Sambhavyatma Atma Mayaya, just to show favor to the fallen conditioned souls. Krishna is always situated in his original position as Sachit Ananda Vigraha, and anyone who renders service to him is also situated in his original spiritual identity, Swarupena Vyavastitihi. This is the highest perfection of life. Oh yes, this is the highest perfection of human life. Okay. Om Agyanat Mirandasya Gyananjana Sharakayat Chakshurunmiritamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamaram Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shcha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Gunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakarpa Tarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshcha Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatya Deshatarine Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Everyone is more senior than me in the room, so please give me your blessings that I don't say anything offensive. And that can be inspiring. So, to begin the class, I would like to remind you a little bit of what Parikshit Maharaj is speaking about here, because he mentions in the verse, where am I? I am here. Okay. He mentions in the verse that his grandfather, Arjuna, by taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, he crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And he also reminds Shukadev Goswami that Krishna saved him when he was in the womb of his mother. So we're just going to do a quick recap of what happened there. So it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1st Canto 8th chapter. I'm going to read the verse later on, but I can also remind you of a little bit of the family tree and where Parikshit Maharaj comes from. So the Pandavas, obviously, their fathers is Pandu, and Pandu had 5 sons. With Kunti, he had Yudhishthir, Bhima, and Arjuna, and with Madri, his second wife, he had Nakula and Sahadev. So Arjuna had 1 son with Subhadra, and the name of Arjuna's son was Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was married to Uttara, and Uttara had a son which was Parikshit. So Parikshit is the son of Abhimanyu, who is the son of Arjuna. So Arjuna is the grandfather of Parikshit. Now I'm going to read you the verse which describes the prayer of Uttara to Sri Krishna when he was on the battlefield. So let me just get the Veda base. Okay. Veda base, first canto, chapter 8, verse I wrote it down, verse 9. Uttarovacha pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam tvad abhayam pashye yatram rityu parasparam. Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. In the next verses, she said, O my Lord, you are all-powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo, who was Parikshit Maharaj. Please do me this favor, my Lord. Sutta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashvatam, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family. So Ashvatam was a warrior on the Kurukshetra field. He was an enemy of the Pandava, and he wanted to finish the dynasty, just finish it all. So he sent a Brahmastra, which Srila Prabhupada compares to some sort of nuclear weapon, to kill Parikshit in the womb of Uttara. So according to the verse here and also in the purport where Srila Prabhupada speaks about the prayers of Uttara, he says that the Lord is the only shelter of fearlessness for the surrendered soul. And here in the verse that we are reading, he says, Parikshit Maharaj says, taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. So I wanted to do a little lecture about Krishna's protection and about fearlessness and fear. So the definition of fear, I looked it up. It's an emotion that takes place when we feel that we are threatened or something bad could happen. So fear can be subjective or it can be objective, meaning we all have different things that scare us, and it's also something that happens to everyone. Everyone had been fearful of something before. So different persons are fearing different things. For example, some people, they're scared of spiders or serpents. Some Mataji, they're scared of mouse. Yes. Sometimes we're in the temple and you hear, ah! And it's Nandini Mataji finding a mouse somewhere. You can hear from very far. So some people fear, I don't know, being alone. Some people fear being sick. So many things we can fear. So it's something that's personal to everyone according to our own karma, our own body, our own samskar. Sometimes maybe in past lives we were suffering because a snake bit us or something. Now we're scared of snakes, or many different things. But the thing is that everyone has experienced some fear in this life. about, different things. It is said that the characteristics that human beings share with animals is that we eat, we sleep, we reproduce, and we protect ourselves. So protecting yourself, it's one of the 4 activities we share with animals. And we're protecting ourselves because we are fearful. We want to keep being alive. So fear is a mechanism that helps us to stay alive. And you can see as human beings, we don't experience so much fear. But if you look at birds, for example, you go outside, a bird is always looking that someone will eat me. I have to go somewhere. I have to run. They're always flying away in fear that something will happen to them. We have so many cats in New Mayapur. You just walk around and you're thinking nothing happens, and there's a cat sleeping somewhere and he sees you and he just jumps around and starts to run very fast. Animals experience a lot of fear because they can be eaten at any moment. Can you imagine you're someone else's meal all the time? There is someone. Eaten. Eaten? Eaten. Someone can munch them. So if we were living in a world where most living entities could just bite a piece of our body, we would also be very fearful. But as human beings, we don't experience that much fear. We experience a little bit of fear, but as they say, we are on the top of the food chain, so no one comes and eats us, except lions in the jungle, but there's no lions in Europe, so we're safe. But yeah, that's something we share with animals, that's fear, that's protection. So when we see something that could put us in danger, we try to protect ourselves, to protect our life. So again, that's to prove that fear is something we can all experience in our life. And now there's the point in the verse that Sri Krishna is the cause of fearlessness. So that's quite interesting. Actually, I have a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, that's chapter 2 and verse 39 and 40. So let's take the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 39. So after describing the knowledge of the soul to Arjuna in the second chapter, which is the content of the Gita summarized, Krishna says, "Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Plita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works." And then in the verse 40, he says, "In this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear." So that's very interesting. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's Baladev Vidyabhushana, it's written in this book from Borijan Prabhu, it's called Surrender Unto Me. He explained different commentary on different verses, and he says that working without fruitive results under the direction of the scriptures and the spiritual master is karma mishra bhakti. So it's bhakti mixed with karma. And by practicing this, Krishna says that we can be delivered from the most dangerous type of fear. So Srila Prabhupada says repeatedly that the thing that we fear the most is death. And of course that's what we fear when we try to protect ourselves, it's to stay alive, so to avoid death. And sometimes some people used to say that, oh, I don't fear death. And he said that that's not a honest proposition, that's everyone's fearful of death. Because it's the nature of the soul to be alive, so death is the contrary of the soul's nature, so it seems very alien to the soul. We also fear pain, and so as Prahlad Maharaj says that fear and pain comes automatically. It's the same as, and he says that happiness is the same, it's according to karma. But still, as human beings with our mind, we try to differentiate because we are under duality. We think that this is desirable and this is not desirable. So we try to avoid what is undesirable, and we try to get what is desirable, what we like and what we don't like, we try to avoid. So pain, everyone's trying to avoid pain, and we do that by being fearful. So, let me take my notes. Where am I going with this? So fear can be something that elevates us, and it can also be something that degrades us according to what we do with it. Because when we are fearful, sometimes we should do something, but we are scared and we don't do it. The spiritual master tells us, I don't know, go and distribute books in the streets of Tours, and we are shy. We think, oh no, I cannot distribute books. Everyone will look at me funny, and they will say some mean things, and oh, I'm scared. I will not do it. So then we don't follow the instruction of the spiritual master because we're scared. So it's not something good. And but I said earlier that we can also be elevated by fear. So that's it's quite a question. Usually, again, when we're fearful, we try to avoid things that we don't want to do out of fear, and that can degrade us, because if we have to do something, it's the order of the spiritual master, it's our dharma. For any good reason, we have to do something. If we don't do it because of fear, then it's a cause of degradation. And actually, Krishna says to Arjuna in the verse 34 of the second chapter, he says that for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So there are things to be feared. For Kshatriya, for example, they fear being dishonored. For them, it's worse than dying. So again, we fear different things, but fear is always a cause of degradation if it causes us to not do something. However, how can we be purified by fear? And it's something that's interesting. So I have a quote from not Vedic philosopher, but it's still interesting. It's Aristotle. How do you say it in English? Aristotle. Okay. In French, it's Aristote. He says that it's in a book called Nicomachean Ethics. He says that a brave person isn't fearless, but when the brave person is facing fearful things, even though he will be afraid to face them, as the rule directs, he will act for honor's sake, for this is the end of virtue. So that's something that's interesting, is that he characterizes brave persons as person who can overcome fear, which means that the brave person, the person who acts according to what he should do, he is not devoid of fear, but even though he's fearful, he's still going to do the right thing. And that's something that is very purifying, because we can look at our own anarthas, we can look at our own things that block us in our life, and we can say that it's okay, I will choose to do the thing even though I'm scared. And by doing that, we actually renounce some of our anarthas, some of our attachments. We can have some different type of attachments. We can think that, oh, I don't know, I'm a very serious person, I'm someone people should respect. And again, if we take this example of book distribution, the spiritual master tells us that, oh, you should distribute books, and we think that I'm a very respectable person, I'm not going to sell weird books on the street, everyone will not respect me. But being put in this situation, if we overcome our fear of being judged, of being out of place, and we actually go, we can make some advancement in spiritual life by overcoming our fear. So it's a very good occasion when we are fearful of something. There's moments where you're fearful of something, and it's a good fear. It's something that you just shouldn't do, because, I don't know, you see a big fire, and you're fearful because you think, oh, maybe if I go in this fire, I'm going to die. But if you have no reason to go in this big fire, then fear is a good option, because then you can save your life and continue doing service for Krishna. But if there is a reason to do something and overcome our fear, to do the right action for our purification, for our service, then it's good to disregard our fear and act in a way that's above this. So where am I with this? 8:36. I wanted to do a little bit of explanation where fear is coming from, because that's quite interesting. That everyone knows what is fear. Everyone knows we are fearing different things, but where actually fear comes from. So there is an answer in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially in the chapters where Sankhya philosophy is explained. So I think that's the 3rd and 4th canto, if I'm not mistaken. So in the Sankhya philosophy, there is a very nice book by Suhotra Maharaj, which explains the different elements of the Sankhya philosophy and so on. But each element is called the tattva. So tattva means substance, something like that. It's something that exists. So in the atheistic Sankhya philosophy, there's 24 elements. In the philosophy, the Sankhya philosophy that was explained by the incarnation of Krishna, whose name is Kapila, there is 25 elements because he adds Paramatma to it. So there's different elements and they're born at different times of the creation. So when the world is created, the first thing that's happening is called avyakta. So avyakta, it means unmanifested. It's the unmanifested material energy. And so the unmanifested material energy mixes with different gunas. So there are 3 gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas, we all know. And when avyakta comes into contact with sattva guna, there are 3 tattvas, 3 elements of the Sankhya philosophy that actually appear. And it's buddhi, intelligence, ahamkar, or false ego, and manas, the mind. So together, they are known. The Sanskrit is antakarana. It's our how do you call it in English? Subtle body. It's our subtle body. And Suhotra Maharaj explains nicely that because it comes from sattva, the tendency of sattva gun is to maintain. So we have the 3 guna avatars. It's Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. So Vishnu is the representative of sattva gun, and because he is the representative of sattva gun, he's the one who's maintaining the universe. So the sattva guna, we can see when Krishna describes food in sattva, it's food that maintains our health in a good condition. Sattvic qualities are maintaining our meditation on Krishna. Sattva is really the guna of maintenance. It's something that keeps things running in a proper way. So this quality of sattva, of preserving itself, because our subtle body is made of sattva, it has the tendency to try and preserve itself. And that's where fear comes from. It's from this actually this quality of sattva that things want to preserve themselves. So your intelligence, your mind, they're always trying to maintain themselves in their own state. Your false ego is always trying to say that, yes, I am this person. The intelligence is always saying that, yes, this is right, that is right, this is not right. And the mind also. And Suhotra Maharaj explains that the mind has two responses when it's disturbed in its own state, is either fight or flight. You know, they say that in the material world as well. That, oh, things are not looking good for me. I need to fight. I need to fight for my rights. I need to impose how I think everything is right. And then when we see that, okay, it's not working, then it's flight. And say, okay, let me go away. Let me find another temple. It will be better. Here they don't they don't understand me. I have so many good ideas. But the thing is, again, when we go above fear, when we go above our attachment, that's when we can actually start to change. Apparently there is a saying in Bengali that wherever you go, you take your mind with you. So the problems are in our mind, they're not in the outside world. So when we see different problems, there might be problems outside, but the way we deal with it ourselves, that's what matters the most. So you can go from temple to temple to temple and always face the same problems. Because when we do that, when we flee, actually we surrender under the material nature that says that, you need to go away. You need to save yourself from this horrible situation. You cannot change nothing. You need to protect yourself. And then we go. And instead of going above our fear, we surrender unto it, and nothing advances. We do the same material thing again and again. And actually, I have another verse. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I think that's about Paramgati, but okay. Let me see. Oh, okay. That's Krishna. This lady forgot. She came to give the medicine to our animals, and I think she's waiting for me. Okay, maybe someone can go and see her, bring her to Namacharya. I think she's there with Sibyl. You go at the entrance, she should be there, and you bring her to Namacharya's place. He's at home. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. It's always something happening. Okay, I'm going to end it up quick. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, verse 1. So I have my Bhagavad Gita here. Chapter 16, verse 1. Okay, in the verse 1, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Veda, etc., etc. O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So it's interesting to see that the first quality that Sri Krishna mentions as belonging to godly men endowed with divine nature, it's fearlessness. So even Srila Prabhupada's name is Abhaya Charanaravinda, so he's without fear at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Bhai means fear, Abhay means with no fear. So the first quality of divine personalities is fearlessness. Why? Because they know they have nothing to gain or to lose in this world. So they are not attached to their body, they are not trying to preserve themselves, they are not trying to... They just do what is right according to scriptures, according to Sri Krishna's instruction, and they are convinced that this is what we should do. So they have no space for being fearful, they have no space for thinking what will happen to me, what should I do, because they're completely purified of this material notion that, I have to keep myself safe. Then they don't have fear anymore, because they are not thinking that I might lose something. They're completely detached from the material world. So that's when we rise above duality, above thinking that this is desirable, this I don't want. When the mind rises above this level, then there's no fear anymore, because we don't think that, I'm in danger, and so on and so forth. So that's it for concluding this little lecture, 8:45. I just conclude and I come for questions. I will conclude just by wrapping up what we said, by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and actually doing our service. Oh my God. Okay, that's probably her. Yeah, it's a lady with short hair. Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, wrapping up, by taking shelters of Krishna's lotus feet, rising above duality, doing our service to our spiritual master, regardless of, our material conditioning, we can rise above fear, and Krishna will protect us always. That he says so many times in the Bhagavad Gita, even in the verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes in the purport, which is Sarva papebhyo mokshesham aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshesham mashuchaha. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. So there is nothing to fear when we are in Krishna's service, and yeah, we always have an opportunity to be engaged and becoming fearful, like Srila Prabhupada was.
The Prabhupada told us actually that the best way to become free from fear is to pray to Lord Nishinga Dev.
Yeah.
In this prayer, Om Namo Bhagavate, etc.
Yeah.
Nishinga, this is Avayam Avayam Atmani. Make me free from make me fearless.
Yeah.
Avayam.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do that.
Yeah.
He told us in all kinds of troubles, you should approach Lord Nishinga Dev, particularly in terms of fear.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada was fearless. One time, who was it? Rancho Prabhupada told to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you are fearless. And, very brave, and Prabhupada said, that is the fact. He said, when I was a student, in my student days, the British did this memorial, the Victoria Memorial, and the scaffolding, bamboo rods and all the way to the top. And so a friend of him said, somebody hoists the national flag.
Yeah.
It is a very dangerous thing to do in the British time, and hanging.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, we have it there. He said, yes, so go up. He said, I'm afraid. So he said, I do it. The Prabhupada climbed all the way to the top, 120 meters something. To the very top of the as big as our temple in Mayapur. They hoisted it. It was a very brave act. If any British official would have seen those arrested and hanged him right there or something like that on the spot, because it's treason.
Yeah.
In case of treason, you can execute a person immediately. It's very risky. But Krishna protected people. Many people were dancing on the street, the Indians, when they saw that. None of the British saw it. Krishna did not allow them to see that. And Prabhupada has beautiful, he was climbing all the way to the top. He had a nerve to do that. I wouldn't have that nerve, I tell you that.
Oh, me neither. For sure.
Coming to the conclusion is, the best way for fearlessness is actually really to put what you see in there. That's exactly the business he brings, the last fear.
Yeah.
This is the address, the right address. Abhayam Abhayam, who is coming from?
It's Nisimha Kavacha, or it's in...
In the fifth canto.
Oh, it's in the fifth canto. Okay.
Namaste, so powerful. Abhayam, Avira Vibhava, Vajranaka, deal with your names like Dandavos, Damsavaka, Karamasha, and my sinfulness, the tendency to be sinful. Karamasha, Ramaya, so drive away my darkness. That's a real song, Swaha, Abhayam Abhayam, free me from fear, free me from fear. Wisdom crown. That prayer, you have to learn that.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Anybody wants it,
Okay.
you know what's up at 10.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I want to say that maybe sometimes it's good to be fearful because we can be foolish, fearful of the consequences of our actions. I don't see anything, and if we do anything, Krishna will take care of it. So, it would be a good thing about being fearful of the
Yeah,
action.
I said in somewhere in the middle is like fear is also good because it protects you. So, but if it's something that we have to do our duty, we have to do our service. It's like it's good to overcome fear, but it's not that you become reckless and you do anything and you say that Krishna will protect me just because I like what I'm doing, so I'm gonna do it anyway. That's different from just like thinking, oh, this is scriptures say I should do it, so I should do it. That's different from thinking that I will do any damn thing I want and Krishna will protect me. That's not the same. I feel like it's not the same like mindset. Yeah. Bhagavati Mataji, you wanted to?
That's what it says with the verse in the left hand of Vaya and Vidura.
Mm.
The fear is coming from seeing duality.
Yeah,
You see something is separate from Krishna,
yeah,
then you have to cause fear. But everything, you see everything is Krishna, like standing up and but we feel like people think everything is Krishna.
yeah,
So that is the, the root cause of this seeing duality.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, I think I have to go. I'm sorry.
If you go, otherwise be fearful of this woman.
Fearful of Namacharya. Okay. It's okay.
That verse that Mataji was quoting, Vayam, that's the verse. As fear arises when the living entity misidentifies himself as a material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering fearful condition is factored according to the illusion of Maya. Therefore, intelligent persons engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master whom he should accept as his worship deity and his soul.
Jai. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai. Haribo. Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Juste